With 2020 just around the corner, and with it looking already to be another bumper year for indie game releases, welcome to Get Indie Gaming and to part 4 of our series of the indie games we're most looking forward to seeing coming out next year. Up first, and coming in at number 10, Death Trash is looking set to enter early access early in the new year. Already a little over 4 years in development from a single developer, Death Trash is primarily a single-player ARPG within a semi-open world. It will also come, however, with the option for split-screen local co-op. This co-op option will allow a second player to be able to drop in and out of the action, where the NPC interaction is separated out and movement on the map is to be shared. The levels are all handcrafted and will feature ranged and melee combat, stealth sections, and multiple branching dialogue choices. As for the art style, well, as you can see, there's cyberpunk, all mixed within a certain amount of horror and the grotesque, which should make for one almighty gritty journey. Death Trash is expected to remain in early access for around a year, with that time being spent fine-tuning the game's interconnected systems and adding more content gradually over time.
I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
You want to guess what it is?
Next up at number 9, we have one of the standout highlights of the E3 conference from this past June. Described as an interactive narrative thriller featuring a man that's stuck within a 12-minute time loop, the principle here is simple enough. You go home one evening to your apartment and you find your wife celebrating some unexpected news. These celebrations, however, don't last too long, as soon you answer your door to a police officer and for whatever reasons yet to be understood, you get killed. The game then restarts at the point where you're about to open the door. It's then up to you to play out the loop to uncover the events and the story as to what's this really all about. Stanley Kubrick is cited by the developer as one of the big influences in the overall cinematic look and feel, and it clearly shows. Few games other than Braid or the recent Sexy Brutale have gotten this time loop design concept right over the past few years, although given the buzz and the hype this one generated at E3, this might just be one to add to the list of time loops done well. 12 Minutes should be out in 2020 on home PC and the Xbox One. Next up, and at number 8, if you like getting to grips with strategy city building games, then Industries of Titan is looking to be one of the most promising such games out in the whole of next year. You begin as new settlers on Saturn's moon, with just a few meager buildings and supplies. Unlike all city builders, the aim is to grow your settlement into a huge metropolis. As you do, you'll need to build and create factories to turn the moon's natural resources into the materials needed for ever more powerful devices and building structures. There's also combat too, with you needing to create tactical battleships, and you'll also need to see off any potential enemies by using political influence or with the sheer productive power of your workers and factories. We love a good old city builder as much as we know many of you viewers do, so this will be a day one buy for us when it hits home PCs at some point in 2020. Our number 7 is out in late January, and like another game we featured in part 3 of this series, you can find a link in the video description and a card on screen now. It has a coffee shop as one of the main areas of the game. In Coffee Talk, expected onto home PCs, you play as a barista in an alternate Seattle where fantasy creatures such as elves, orcs, dwarves and many others all live alongside humans in what seems a slightly troubled coexistence. You'll listen to your customers' problems and help them out by way of serving them warm drinks while offering a kindly ear for their thoughts. We've recently had hands-on time with Coffee Talk with a demo that runs for say 10 to 15 minutes. It plays and feels all very much low-key and relaxing with chilled beats and beautifully pulled together pixel art animations. One of the characters you meet in the demo, an aspiring writer called Freya, is the high point, and should others look and sound as great as she does, then graphically Coffee Talk could be onto wonderful things. As for the actual game, well, it's really a visual novel with sections where you make customers drinks according to their individual tastes. Given your store's inventory, well, there's plenty for your creative side to go and play with. At number 6, Mineko's Night Market will have you play as Mineko, a girl having arrived at her new home on a superstitious Japanese-inspired island where the locals worship Abe the Sun Cat. It'll be up for you to discover the island's secrets while also getting to know and befriend the 80-plus islanders at the weekly night market, where you're able to sell items you've crafted from the island's resources while also being able to buy goods created by the locals. While open-ended, there's around 20 or so hours of story-driven content, which sees you setting off on quests, completing various jobs, and much more. Expected on home PCs and the Switch, Mineko's Night Market looks to celebrate Japanese culture within a narrative story of tradition, friendship, and many, many cats. Up now, and at number 5, with it coming out in 2020 via Steam, Backbone looks to take inspiration from film noir and will deliver a detective-based adventure, all within a dark, dystopian environment modelled on some of the real streets and vistas of Vancouver. Backbone seems to take a new and different approach on the tried and tested point-and-click formula. It features extended and branching character dialogue interactions like those of classic CRPGs, and will also have sections on stealth and exploration. Couple all of this with high-definition 3D effects such as dynamic lighting, water and fog effects, and an original jazz soundtrack. Backbone, with its smart, self-assured lead of Howard Lotor, is one we're super keen to keep an eye on in the final stages of its development. If you fancy it too, there's a link to a free demo you can play today down in the description. At number 4, in Dreamscaper, that's coming out next year on home PC, you play as a young woman called Cassidy. This is an action RPG of sorts, where you're dealing with depression and other aspects of a troubled young life. One way in which Cassidy copes is to battle monsters in her dreams, which are depictions of the negative emotions and thoughts. By defeating these creatures in her sleep, her days are made just that little bit better. The daytime-nighttime cycles are an interesting concept. By day, you interact with the NPCs and explore the town of Red Harve. This is all story-driven, with your experiences becoming part of your dreams. At night, however, while the game features procedurally generated levels, which end in a boss battle. If you're successful, you wake up having unlocked new areas or new dreams to explore the next time you fall asleep. If you fail, then when you wake up from your dream, you need to start over again from the beginning of the dream sequences. So yes, this one has roguelike elements sitting alongside the main story. This feels fresh and yet a bold take on a genre with a hardcore fanbase, and it's going to live or die in how it blends all these themes together. At number 3, Spiritfarer has you play as Stella, a fairy master or Spiritfarer for the recently deceased, in what's looking like a cozy adventure-driven simulation game. At first, you're tasked with building a boat, and once done, you're free to go about the place and pick up spirits before guiding them across the mythical seas and then releasing them into the afterlife. While you do so, you're able to fish, harvest, cook, upgrade your boat, all while in the company of your spirit passengers and their tales and memories. Stella can be joined in the action by Daffodil the cat, which means co-op play and another thread to this one's rather delightfully looking bow. With around 30 or so hours of story missions and hundreds more, should you look to complete everything there is to offer, this light coffee talk from earlier should deliver a memorable cast of characters, all within a gentle and ultimately heartwarming overall tale about dying and saying goodbye. Spiritfarer will be available by way of Steam and all of this generation's main consoles. In the runners-up slot, we have Haven. This sees you play as two lovers having escaped to a lost planet to find somewhere to settle down and stay together. Haven all boils down to what the team call an accessible RPG, all within a story-rich adventure that's been designed to have you fall in love with the characters as you take and lead them through the challenges of everyday life. As for the inspirations at play here, well, the game's creative director has called Haven a love child of Journey meets Persona, which is certainly recognisable having seen footage of a recent demo from Gamescom and given the footage on screen here now. What feels new though in Haven is the perspective of you playing two people within an established relationship, which isn't usually the case, so we can expect the characters to interact together in a way that's past the early stages of courtship, where people are really just getting to know each other. How this is fully implemented is alongside the draw of the graphics, the audio, and the innovative combat system. And it's why we're so keen to see this when it's out in 2020 on home PC, PlayStation 4, and the Nintendo Switch. Of all of the games in this 6-part Best of Games Expected Out series in 2020, Last Night is the most risky one from a launch perspective of the whole lot. First announced back in 2017, this visual tour de force was originally due out the following year. However, in late 2018, the creator took to Twitter to say the game had run into legal and funding issues, and with no more news since then, this one might be in gaming limbo. With heavy inspiration from Blade Runner and such games as Flashback and Another World, both from the early 90s, to us, like we suspect many of you, it would be a real shame if this cinematic-looking action platformer didn't make it out into the market next year or any others that follow. If, like us, you want to see more of Last Night, be sure to subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to stay fully in the loop on this one and all of the best looking and playing indie games as they come out to market. So that just about wraps things up for this episode of our most wanted games coming out in 2020. With 2 more episodes due in this series, be sure to let us know which games you are most looking forward to down in those comments. Many thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all again here soon for more indie game videos.